Hi everybody, I hope you've had a good Christmas and a good holidays. We're going to say ciao to the new year, but I have some good news for you. A lot of you asked me about the possibility to use flared with cycles. I always say that it's very hard. The first reason is that for these flares in EV we use a node in the shader that is not compatible with cycles at the moment. I hope that developers will make something to make this node compatible with cycle. The node is shader to RGB. That is very important for flared to work, but it's not working in cycles. There are other problems about cycles. If we put these elements into a cycle image, they are emissive elements, and so they will emit light. In EV you cannot affect the other element with the emission, but in cycles it happens. So there are different problems. I found a trick that seems to work. You'll have to help me because I don't know cycles and I don't use it, but some days ago I've seen this video from Dylan Neal. I hope this is the good way to say this name. In this video he showed a good way to use the motion blur for objects in EV, and I took this idea that he has had and I've used it to put our lens flare into cycles. So it's not a new function that we've developed, it's just a trick, but it seems to work. I've used this car demo file from my pen for this little tutorial. So I've opened in Blender 2.81a and I'll try to repeat what I've done to make our flare work. I will put a flare on this light, car light here. So now the image is this one. I will call this scene here CY, because this is the scene that we're going to use in cycle, and so you will see that here is a cycle preview. Then I will make a new scene by linking this scene here. So I click here and there is a new scene that is identical to the first, is linked. So if I move an object in this scene, it will move in the other one, and I called it EV. Okay, so we have two scenes. The second one, EV, will have the EV render engine. In this one we will add our flare. So now I'll add an empty here where I want to put my light source. I will move it so to put it here inside this light. Okay, this is our light source. And then I'll add a flare. Let's try this one. I'll use this camera, this one, okay, and I'll select the empty and I'll add the flare. The flare is very powerful here because we have a background with an emission of color. I want a dark background, so I'll use 0 here. So everything will disappear because there are no light source, so there is no subject in this render. I will turn down the So now we have, here are the cars. Oh, okay, I've changed the background, so the background is changed also in this scene here. That is not a problem. And here are the EV. So if we now go into the compositor, here there is a complex composition made by my pan that I don't need, so I will remove all these elements. I just need a render layer. In this first render layer I will use the scene CY, and in another render layer I will use the scene made in EV. Then I will add a node, a mix node, to mix together these two layers. I will port this image here and this other image here. I will use an add node, and I will go in the preview and in the output. Okay, so now we can render it. I will turn down the rendering here. I don't want too much time, so 5. Let's see if it's okay. Yes, we have the same rendering complex compositing. I don't know this because in the EV we've changed as the compositor was already used by Mike Pan. I've changed this one, but I think that maybe good to change the other one too. So I will copy these nodes into this one. I don't know if it's important to do it, but I'll do it. So okay, so they are identical. Oh, they are the same. Now let's render and see what happens. Okay, here's the render with those symbols in circles. And okay, this is the composition of the two render layers together. So with the backdrop we can see in the background what happens. Here we can change the intensity of the flare on the car. We can also change it from here if we have something that we can change from the editor of the flare. This is something like a final parameters to decide the intensity of the flare. This is the way to use flared into a cycle scene. I don't know if this helps the people that need to use the lens flare into cycles, but you can try and tell me if this way may be the correct way at the moment until we'll find another solution. Okay, so thank you to everybody and have a happy new year. Bye bye.